He did twice. And I'm gonna tell you, next time you're gonna set up down this way, not in front of this.
Oh, wow.
What happens when California's streets overflow with the homeless? A reality once unthinkable has now become a nightmare for millions. As the homeless population rises each day, the real issue isn't whether we can respond, but how long we'll turn a blind eye to this growing pain. Day by day, California's promise fades into the distance. Will we stand by and watch the very emblem of hope collapse beneath layers of apathy and neglect? The present shadow, California's homelessness unraveled. To truly understand what lies ahead, we must first acknowledge the grim reality already consuming California. By 2025, close to 182,000 people in the state, more than 1 in 5 of all homeless in America, are living without shelter. This 6% rise from the year before isn't merely a number. It's a stark reminder of lives overturned from Silicon Valley's displaced tech employees to veterans left behind in San Diego. This crisis stems from a perilous blend of failed policies and unchecked ambition, and it's time to confront them directly.
I'm saying, these people are at work, they can't move their stuff, so you're gonna take their stuff and throw it away.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you just did. And you're gonna arrest me? You're gonna arrest me for not going to some fucking place?
I'm letting you talk, so wait, I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm asking you, you're gonna arrest me for going to some place for a misdemeanor.
Hey, put aside.
For nothing. Because I'm home. That right there should be against the law.
One of the primary forces fueling this catastrophe is California's staggering housing costs. With the median home price now hovering around $800,000, owning a home is unattainable for most residents. At the same time, wages have stayed stagnant, while inflation keeps tightening the financial vice on families. The fentanyl crisis is another devastating element, with 30% of California's homeless population trapped in addiction's deadly grip. People aren't merely slipping through the cracks, they're caught in relentless cycles of substance use, straining an already fragile safety net. In Los Angeles, Skid Row shelters more than 40,000 individuals in tents and improvised encampments, a stark emblem of a spiraling emergency. But this crisis reaches well beyond LA. Across California, systemic breakdowns are plain to see. In San Bernardino, Jasmine, a 40-year-old woman who's been homeless for more than 8 years, tells how the system failed her and countless others. She recalls empty promises of transitional housing and a pathway to stability, only to end up back on the streets with no real help in sight. Jasmine highlights the disturbing fact that despite millions in funding, little of it ever reaches the people who need it most. Layers of bureaucracy, from fees to complex eligibility rules, keep many stuck in place.
And I can honestly say that I believe that the people that are responsible for the homeless funding have been misappropriating the funding for years, and nobody's ever blown the whistle because nobody really cares to stand up for this city. Mental health struggles further compound the crisis.
Roughly 25% of unhoused individuals battle untreated mental conditions. And with clinics already at capacity, many are left exposed and uncared for. The racial divide is also glaring. Black Californians make up nearly 40% of the homeless population, while being just 6% of the state. A gap born from redlining, incarceration, and systemic inequities that still shape California's landscape today. California's homelessness crisis isn't merely an issue, it's a piercing reflection of a broken system. Even as billions flow into cleanup efforts, cities like San Francisco show little real progress. The sidewalks stay packed, shelters burst at the seams, and policies still put corporations above communities. With so much at stake, the question is, how much longer can California's structure withstand the pressure before it buckles completely? The unfolding storm, a hypothetical descent into urban abyss.
I know.
Picture California already buckling under the weight of its homelessness crisis, facing the ultimate convergence of disasters.
Real for real.
A second major recession fueled by runaway housing costs soaring 50% and worsened by shattered supply chains and climate-driven migration from wildfire zones could push the situation to the brink. Another 200,000 individuals, families forced from their homes. Gig workers left adrift would pour onto the streets, driving the homeless population to 400,000. Homelessness in California would cease to be a side issue. It would reshape the state's very identity, turning its most famous streets into zones of desperation. Envision this transformation. Hollywood Boulevard, once glowing with stardom, now buried beneath a sea of tense blue tarps whipping in the breeze. The air would be choked with the smell of uncollected garbage and smoke from makeshift fires, making it unrecognizable to visitors. What had symbolized ambition and hope would devolve into a place where survival is the only currency. Cardboard stalls would emerge, peddling salvage goods as displaced individuals cluster together, trading for food beneath the relentless California sun. Initially, there would be attempts to adjust churches opening their sanctuaries, volunteers handing out meals and water, but gradually tensions would escalate. Valuable shelter spots like shaded areas under overpasses or grassy park corners would become contested ground. Fistfights would replace the spirit of community and petty crime would climb. Police forces stretched beyond capacity would resort to sweeping encampments, worsening conditions by displacing people without addressing root causes. As anger builds, resentment festers, and small pockets of violence begin to surface. Within a single month, the scale of the crisis would be undeniable. Businesses, particularly restaurants in places like San Francisco's Mission District, would shudder under the strain of vandalism and theft. Tourism, a $140 billion pillar of California's economy, would grind to a standstill. Who would choose to vacation amid such disorder? The middle class feeling the pressure would retreat into gated communities relying on private security, deepening the gap between rich and poor. As danger grows on the streets, the human toll mounts. Seniors succumb to the elements, young people turn radical, and entire neighborhoods begin to unravel thread by fragile thread. Though this vision represents the worst-case outcome, it isn't baseless. It's extrapolated from real trends intensified by parallels to cities like Detroit that have endured similar declines. In California, this unraveling would be intensified by the sharp contrast between immense wealth and rising destitution. Yet even in this grim outlook, glimmers of resilience would surface. Displaced communities would build support networks, and mutual aid apps would help distribute essentials. Still, the core problem would persist: a fractured system whose shiny facade crumbles the moment equity is abandoned. As we reflect on this hypothetical descent, we must ask, how long can we ignore the structural fractures before they shatter completely? What actions must we take today to prevent this imagined future from becoming the reality ahead? The fractured aftermath, sharp edges of collapse. From the crest of this escalating crisis, shockwaves would spread through every artery of California's existence, a stark mirror of societal ruptures chronicled in documentaries on the homeless in America. These aren't imagined nightmares. They're the bitter yield of inequalities planted decades ago, now sprouting in plain view. Socially, the unraveling would be swift and brutal, transforming shared spaces into contested wounds. Parks once filled with laughter sidewalks made for wandering benches offering respite. These would harden into survival arenas where every patch of shade sparks clashes over space or water.
The tag on the back.
Families on the brink would face agonizing choices. A parent's warmth traded for a child's fleeting meal. Innocence laid bare beneath the cold night sky. Elders fragile against the coastal damp would fade quietly, their life stories dissolving into fog-bound obscurity. Mental strain, already gripping a quarter of the unhoused, would surge, unchecked silent despair breaking into cries that shatter whatever peace remains. Wary neighbors might form watch groups at dusk, driven less by cruelty than instinct, yet these boundaries would carve the gap between homes and encampments ever deeper. In a country forged on equality's promise, how long before these fractures widen into chasms, swallowing shared ground? Economically, the blow would land hard, shattering the illusion of endless prosperity. Tourism's $140 billion heartbeat drawing visitors to sunny coasts and glittering streets would falter as disgust drives them away. Nob Hill's luxury hotels would echo empty, their grand halls haunted by vanished guests. Mission District eateries would lock up against the encroaching night patios, overtaken by tents. Investors would scatter like leaves in a storm property, ledgers bleeding red as once vibrant neighborhoods slip into decay. Jobs would vanish in chains, servers cut off from lifeless counters, builders idle beside stalled projects, each loss pulling others down with it. Los Angeles, already spending billions on abatement, would see costs multiply, draining schools and infrastructure to fund barricades. The irony bites a hub of innovation and entertainment brought low by the very neglect it ignored.
Afterlife. Man.
Health and the environment would intertwine in a grim spiral, both body and land yielding to abandonment.
3-4 years, damn.
Hospitals transformed into emergency outposts would buckle under waves of illness, tuberculosis spreading through crowded camps, hepatitis thriving in the shadows.
Narcan.
But fentanyl's presence would loom largest, its synthetic grip driving over 70% of overdoses, quietly carving graves within the tent cities. Paramedics would chase crisis after crisis, outpaced by an unrelenting surge no alarm could stem. Sanitation would unravel the Los Angeles River choked with waste, Huntington's beaches marred by survival's toll, turning once idyllic shores into cautionary tales.
Oh, wow.
The skies would haze with barrel smoke, waterways would poison life, and annual health costs could reach $5 billion a burden handed to future generations. When did the visionaries of progress, those valley pioneers, allow their ingenuity to foster such ruin, twisting healing into harm? Politically, the storm would force long postponed reckonings, pitting compassion against authority in uneasy standoffs. Demonstrations would surge from the streets to Sacramento's doorstep. The silence demanding long-denied dignity, their cries mourning reform that never came. Legislators would scramble amid the noise entangled in bureaucracy, while ACLU lawsuits clash with city decrees testing the limits of justice. The wealthy would retreat to Oregon or Nevada, draining both taxes and influence, leaving California hollowed of its strength. Power would falter, reformers swept aside by the raw desperation of the masses' alliances, fractured by wounds left to fester. Yet within this crucible, sparks remain: zoning reform, massive aid infusions, if met with resolve. Will we shape this furnace to forge a fairer future, or let it yield only the cold slag of regret?
Yeah, this fool got like...
Paths to redemption, hope sparks in the crisis. Confronting California's homelessness emergency reveals avenues toward redemption, and though the climb is steep, it remains achievable. The state holds a range of solutions, some already bearing fruit, others drawn from successful models abroad. Central strategies like the Housing First Initiative offer a lifeline by treating shelter as a fundamental right rather than a conditional benefit. This framework has succeeded in places like Salt Lake City and Houston, where it has lowered repeat homelessness by 50. Housing First combines permanent residences with wraparound support, mental health care, addiction recovery, and social services tackling root causes instead of merely displacing people. California's voter-approved Proposition 1 sets aside $6.4 billion for housing, including the rollout of modular units. These compact homes erected on unused land act as stable entry points for individuals without shelter. The program provides more than roofs. It builds pathways to lasting stability through mental health programs and opioid treatment facilities. Such approaches embody a compassionate, holistic solution to homelessness, meeting both physical and emotional needs. The state is also drawing lessons from abroad. Helsinki's bold universal housing voucher system has slashed homelessness by 80%, proving political resolve can drive enduring change. Coupling this kind of policy shift with robust infrastructure has transformed places once overwhelmed by housing crises. Domestically, Los Angeles' Project Roomkey showed remarkable effectiveness during COVID-19 by turning hotels into emergency shelters. This initiative placed thousands indoors, delivering short-term but critical relief. Expanding this strategy could bring rapid assistance to regions swamped by encampments and displacement. Beyond legislation, cultural evolution is crucial to address homelessness meaningfully. Society must shift from perceiving the unhoused as burdens to recognizing their inherent dignity and potential. Efforts like mobilizing voters for affordable housing, steering corporate contributions toward development, and weaving empathy into education can cultivate a culture of responsibility. Such actions build communities that view homelessness not as someone else's problem, but as a collective duty. Documentaries chronicling individuals' journeys from homelessness to security reveal the transformative power of agency. These accounts aren't tales of destiny. They're stories of change fueled by compassion, communal support, and enabling policies. With the right blend of resources, willpower, and empathy, California can reshape its story from one of despair to one defined by hope. Personal perspective. In moments of quiet reflection, it's not statistics that linger, but the faces and lives etched by hardship that I've witnessed through countless documentaries on homelessness. Walking the misty streets of San Francisco in my youth, seeing the early tremors of this crisis left me with an unease that never faded. Those of us living in comfort have played a role in shaping the very system that sustains it. My own path from modest Midwest beginnings to where I stand now was paved by chances many never receive a scholarship, a job, a stroke of good fortune. Privilege has kept me from the brink, but that same privilege brings an obligation I can't dismiss. This crisis isn't some distant theory, it's the direct outcome of collective choices. We've permitted zoning rules that prioritize luxury estates over affordable homes and policies that elevate Silicon Valley's wealth above public well-being. I think of the veterans I've encountered, heroes ensnared in bureaucratic tangles, and the artists whose aspirations were crushed under soaring rents. These are not isolated anecdotes. They expose a broader societal failure. Should California falter in addressing this, it transcends local boundaries, challenges our nation's core ideals of unity, equality, and justice. My guidance, shaped by years of lived experience, is straightforward. Become active in your community, hold your leaders accountable, and step in where policy falls short. By tackling this crisis, we mend not only our cities, but the spirit of our democracy. True strength is found in lifting up those who are most in need. This is not where hope fades. It's where action begins a call to use our voices and deeds to illuminate the path ahead. Echoes into action. As we bring this conversation to a close, one message stands out. California is at a defining moment, and the direction ahead is in our hands. The images we've examined, from grim projections to inspiring solutions, make one thing undeniable. Real change relies on each of us. Will we let California collapse beneath neglect, or will we come together to shape a future rooted in justice and compassion? The choice is ours to make. The choice is ours to... I invite you to join this dialogue. Which solutions resonate with you most? What steps do you believe are essential moving forward? Your perspective matters. Like, comment and share your thoughts. Your voice can ignite the transformation this moment demands. This discussion must continue. Subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage of the homelessness crisis and help amplify these crucial stories. Every interaction, every share, every comment pushes us closer to rewriting the narrative and driving real change. Together, we have the power to make a difference. Let's take action now before the shadows of this crisis grow too vast to escape. The moment to rise is here.